Yes, Ellie, so I understand that after using the unit for some time that often there's a rash or an irritation can appear. Why is that, and can you tell me a little bit about it?
With that little rash, you can use an electrolyte gel or not even use the salt in the solution, just use plain water. You just want to barely feel the electricity, and sometimes after a while, because your skin gets used to it, you might not even feel the electric current whatsoever. But I really like the electrolyte gel. That does kind of spread the electricity out in a smooth manner and doesn't cause the rash at all.
When I'm doing a blood electrification program and I'm looking for my pulse points, I have no problem at all by my thumb. But for some reason, over by my little finger, I seem to have some difficulty. Is there anything that you could suggest to make it easier to find?
Yes, actually there is. The radial pulse is by your first finger and your thumb, and the ulnar pulse by the little finger. And what you want to look at is that the hollow, you're not looking at the vein, you're not looking at the little blue vein that you're seeing. There's a very soft, hollow indentation right very close to your little finger, the line of your little finger. And you can feel it in there, and just by pressing, it's a softer tissue. The same on the radial side. You'll see right next to those tendons and the outside of the radial bone, you'll feel it's a soft tissue, and you can almost press in, and then when you press in, you do feel the pulse there. So you just have to be, a couple times. Once you've done it once or twice, you'll really get that. I think it's pretty easy once you've felt it.
And another idea may be just to get the blood pumping by taking a brisk walk around the block, or maybe up and down the stairs, quick run.
Yes, that'll certainly get the circulation going. The other thing you can do is just get a tourniquet, a little one, put it on the arm, or put like a little tennis ball just underneath your armpit and hold it tight for a moment, a mere moment, and you'll feel the pulse. It'll kind of stick out.
Yes, Doctor, I was wondering, if I can't feel the current once the unit's on my wrist, how would I know if, say, the unit wasn't working, or perhaps even if it was the cords themselves? How would I test that?
One of the things that I would say most men and young boys know in the entire world is we used to take these little 9-volt batteries and we'd touch them to our tongue and we'd get that little shock. Now most women don't know about this, but you can take these electrodes, actually just barely turn the unit on and put one on each side of your tongue, and you will feel a little teeny electrical current. Make sure the unit is not turned up all the way when you test it, okay?
Actually, I have a comment on a bit of research I did on myself, and then I have a question. You mentioned about touching the probe cords to your tongue to test it. I had an awful toothache, and it was very, very painful. And so what I did is I took the probe cords, made sure the cotton sleeves were wet. I put one on each side of my gum, and then of course I turned it up very slowly, just onto the on position. Now in about 35-40 seconds, the pain went away, and I thought, wow, this is great. But about 25 minutes, 30 minutes later, it came back with a vengeance, actually. And so I kept playing with it back and forth for as long as I could take the current, because it was a very uncomfortable feeling, to have the cords in my mouth. It felt very weird, actually. But what I found is that I got up to a half hour in that evening. Next 2 days, I did a half hour in the morning, half hour at night, and it was completely gone. And I didn't have a problem since. So what I want to know, obviously I lived through that, I'm sitting here in that. So what I want to know is if I want to try with my thyroid, or if I had a problem with a bladder or an organ on my body, am I going to be causing any kind of problem by experimenting with the probe cords on other areas?
Let me cover that in two parts. First, what you are doing to the tooth. Remember, electricity deactivates bacteria, microbes, funguses, and viruses. So by putting it directly on the gum and next to the tooth, you are probably deactivating the bacteria in the infection of the tooth. Almost the same as an antibiotic. So that was actually quite smart. I think it was a good experimentation that you did for yourself. Putting it on other areas of the body. Now, Dr. Beck talks about using it on the pulse areas of the body, because what you're doing is electrificating the blood. That's what you want. But again, because there are no rules and regulations, if you want to experiment, I don't think it would harm. These are microcurrents of electricity, and the most important, it's microamperage, so there's very little harm that you can do to tissues of the body, even turned up all the way.
May I ask the manufacturer of the unit you're wearing?
I think because of the political climate we live in, it would be best not to really mention a manufacturer. There are manufacturers, you can go on the web, you can look, but I think it would be best not to mention the manufacturer.
Have these units ever been known to cure specific diseases, for instance, like diabetes or cancer?
Now that's a good question, and I want to explain this correctly so that you understand. In natural health care, what we are doing is promoting health. We are not going after a specific symptom or a specific disease. That is the difference between what we're doing in natural health care and allopathic medicine. Allopathic says, I want to cure this disease. I want to cure these symptoms. But in lifestyle changes, what you want to do is promote health, and this is promoting health. So by eating healthy, by exercising, by emotional processing, by doing the things in your lifestyle and then making the choice to use the Beck protocols, you're promoting health, not going after a specific symptom. Other questions?
To your knowledge, is there anyone that shouldn't be doing the blood electrification program? Again,
because of the laws and the non-regulatory effect, there are no regulations on the machine. It's up to you. Now, I believe that pregnant women really shouldn't be doing anything different. You know, I don't even like pregnant women to make big changes in their diet. I think a nursing mother, again, shouldn't be doing it. If you have a pacemaker, the research out there has shown, and actually in contacting the pacemaker company, this is such small microelectric current that it's probably okay, but we're not sure. Use your discretion. It's up to you and your own experimentation with it. There is enough research on this type of microelectric current from the FDA, and that they have not evaluated this machine per se, but the microelectric currents have been evaluated and are in continuous use, so that should be okay. Because there are no rules and regulations right now, there is one manufacturer, though, is attempting to get FDA approval. The problem with that may be, though, that once we are FDA approved, or the machines are FDA approved, it may then be limited in who can get it. You may have to have a prescription to get it. So there is something about the public domain right now that is beneficial in the natural health care. The research is clear that these microelectric currents are beneficial and so far harmless, that there are enough units on the market today, TENS units again that I mentioned, cranial electrical stimulators, and they have been used for many, many years, showing no harm. I like the fact that it's available in the public domain so that anybody that wants to promote their own health, that it can be utilized. Another important factor to understand is that according to the law right now, every person is allowed to experiment on themselves, that you can buy a unit and use it for your own experimentation purposes. Once it's a prescription, that might change things. So again, in the public domain, using your motivation to promote health, being able to take a machine and experiment on your own, that's one of the ways that we are able to utilize the equipment and keep it in the public domain. To sum up, what we are doing is we're using the electrification of the blood with the Bob Beck machine, and we're using it to enhance the immune system. There are new studies that came out of Europe and Scandinavia that actually show that white blood cells use electricity to deactivate microbes, funguses. So what we are doing is duplicating and enhancing what the immune system is already using. Now, there are other tissues in the body other than the blood where we still want these microcurrents, and that's where we're going to lead into and talk about the magnetic pulsar to get those same microcurrents into the lymph and interstitial fluids and other tissues of the body. Hi and welcome. We're going to demo the electrification of the blood unit. Here you can see right